Hi, and welcome to On the Political Page. I'm your host, Rocky Holland. With me today, Jennifer Marshall Nealy, the endorsed candidate for the 15th District State House of Representatives. Jennifer, thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me. I enjoy this.
Oh, okay. Well, it should be good. I think that we should mention, first off, the 15th District, some people in West Hartford might be a little confused, used to be Bloomfield, South Windsor, and parts of Hartford.
It used to be Bloomfield, Windsor, and parts of Hartford.
Okay.
Yes.
But due to some redistricting after the census, it's now all of Bloomfield and parts of West Hartford.
Yes, one section of West Hartford.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. And you are going to be running for this seat on August 13th, correct? And that's going to be against incumbent Bobby Gibson. So he's the incumbent, but you are the endorsed candidate for this election. So
I am.
If you would like to expand on that, here's your opportunity. Otherwise, we can.
You know, I've knocked on a lot of doors, and I love talking to people, and I hear from them more often than not, oh, so you're running against this person. And my reply to them is, we are in a democracy, and I'm not running against that person. I'm running for a seat that's open for anyone who wanted to run for that seat. And you just have to follow the protocols in order to qualify, in order to be endorsed, and in order to get your campaign going. And that's what I'm doing. I'm working to earn my spot as state representative in the 15th District.
Okay, very good. All right, so let's see. We have some questions here. So basically, I guess before we get to the specific questions, what's your background? What makes you want to run for this office?
I've lived in Bloomfield for 35 years. 35 years, just a smidgen. And I was one of the commissioners on the Ethics Commission. And I thought, well, you can do more. So I was one of the commissioners on Zoning Board of Appeals. I was, and currently am, one of the commissioners on Town Planning and Zoning. I am currently the Registrar of Voters. So I've given to Bloomfield. I was also counselor. I was one of the counselors in Bloomfield. And so I've given to Bloomfield a lot of my time and energy and work. And I'm not doing it for financial gain. I'm doing it because this is who I am. And when I participate on any of those or in those commissions, I'm learning more, I'm gaining more, and I believe I have more that I can give to the town of Bloomfield by working on the state level. So I can hear what the issues are, roll up my sleeves and say, okay, let's do this. As registrar, our office is open 3 days a week from 9:30 to 12:30. I'm there 6, maybe 7 days a week.
Wow, okay.
Yes, because there's work that has to be done, especially with early voting coming along. And there's a lot of work that has to be done. And a lot of people feel as though they are professionals at voting or elections because they voted. So they think they know a lot because they voted, but there's so much more to that. And all of these qualifications that I have, I bring with me to the State House, if I answered your question.
No, it's a pretty good resume, I think, for somebody that's running for the State House. And to make that transition, I've seen how the state, when some of the candidates that have gone on to go at the state level, they really take a lot of arrows up there. I remember Jillian Gilchrist, when she first came on, she wanted to make a bill to tax bullets. And I was like, okay. And everybody was just, it was crazy. It was up in arms. And then she wanted to tax nail salons. I just assumed that they were already taxed, but people were acting like she was wanting to tax the 9-year-old's lemonade stand down the road. I was like, this is crazy. So it sounds like that you've got the toughness that's required to deal with some of those things. Should you get elected.
And there are a lot of arrows that are pointed at you. And someone asks, "Can you find me some dirt on Jennifer?" And I says, "Well, you know what? I have a lot of dirt in my yard. I'll fill up a bucket and give it to you. You can give it to him." But Jillian Gilchrist is a force to be reckoned with. I respect her.
Tough as nails, yep.
And
Yep.
if there's anyone that I want to pattern myself after or partner myself with, it's Jillian Gilchrist. I just want to give that plug.
All right. Well, Jillian, if you're watching.
If you're watching.
All right. So I got a list of questions here. So you told me that as you're out there knocking on the doors, probably the biggest topic that's coming up is reproductive freedoms?
Yes. And you have some people who think that it's just simply about abortions. It is not just simply about abortions. It's about women's health care, the whole body. And I do not believe that anyone has the right to be, any politician has the right to be in your doctor's office when your doctor is trying to determine what's the best medical direction to go for your care. I do not believe that that women are going to make this mad dash to Planned Parenthood and all of these women are going to go just to have an abortion. This is about women's total health care. It's about in vitro, it's about prevention, it's about things that come up in a woman's body that people don't think about, women don't think about until it happens. And I would like to think that anyone, even in a faith-based environment, can support a woman's choice to do what she wants to do with her body. I don't believe that this war on women is going to really be a long-term success for those states that are invoking these laws against women. I think and I hope that women get together and realize that this is something that, if they're going to do this with women, what's going to be the next thing? Is it going to be civil rights? Is it going to be LGBTQ rights? The things that this country fought for and put in place to include everyone, inclusivity. And so I support women's reproductive rights. I always will.
Okay, and it's worthy of mention, as we all know, a couple of years ago, just before the midterms, the Roe v. Wade was contested and thrown out in the Supreme Court. It was overturned. And so what that means is that someone like yourself at the state level, because now the decisions are going to be made at the state level, that's an increased capacity in your job as a state representative. So important stuff there.
Might I add that there is, when the state had the vote for women's reproductive freedoms, if you will, I'm cutting it down short, we had someone in the state as a state representative who voted against it. The only representative who voted against it. Yeah.
We're not going to mention the name though, right?
We're not going to do that.
Okay. All right. I think we all know who the name is. We're not going to mention the name.
But you know what makes it so interesting?
What's that? Go ahead. You have the conch.
I attended the Bands Off My Body rally here at Town Hall after that vote.
Okay.
And I'm standing there on the platform, and you had all of these other elected officials that were standing there. And it was a rally with people. Some were for it, some were not for it, but everyone knew what the situation, what the issue was. And that person was standing beside me after that person voted against it, clapping as though they voted for it.
Right.
I couldn't believe that.
Just a disclaimer here at WHCI, we are nonpartisan, and if any people would like to come on the show and feel they want to rebut anything that's being said today, you have my open invitation to do such. With that being said, we'll continue on.
Okay.
All right. Would you like to cover anything more about
just look up
reproductive freedoms?
House Bill 5415, I believe it is.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Very good. All right, so funding for homeowners to invest in repairing and upgrading their homes without an increase in taxes on their properties for a specific time frame. So what's this one? Is this something that you...
Yeah. So Councilor Ken McCleary, he has a brilliant mind, and he was supporting this fund, this program, where well, let me back up. If you have a property and your property needs some kind of improvement, maybe your windows or your basement or whatever it is, and you want to pull the money that you have saved and do the repairs on your home, and you're increasing the value of your property. Well, normally when you do something like that, your taxes go up because
Yes,
you've just improved the value of your property. But this particular program was what it does is it allows you to repair your home, increase the value of your home, and regardless of age, and for a certain number of years, your taxes remain, you're not taxed anymore because
Right.
you increase the value of your home.
Right.
If you need windows, or if you need a roof, or one of your rooms has some kind of issue with it and you need to have that repaired.
It never stops when you own a home.
It
Yep.
never stops.
Certainly.
But this is a program that the investment fund, the CIF, and it allowed the homeowners to repair their homes without fear for being, their taxes going up because they improved something on their home. And that's something that I think most homeowners would jump on if they had an opportunity. They would just have to apply and get qualified for it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a situation that, when it came to the state level, we had somebody who did not support it.
Didn't support that.
No.
Okay.
And they can look it up.
You can look it up. Someone.
Can look it up.
And I like that because when you're a homeowner, it's already tough enough to put those funds into the home and then to additionally have to take the extra hit because you've budgeted. It's all baked into the cake at that point. Now you're going to have to rebudget in addition to the money that you paid to have the repairs done on your house.
Yeah.
Which, as a homeowner, I can tell you, most of the houses in Bloomfield and West Hartford are not new construction. And so there's constantly things that you have to have repaired. And you're left in a position where you're going, okay, well, this is falling apart, but this is falling apart a little bit more. So what do I have the budgets to do? And then on top of that, your taxes go up after you're done. And so it can be very difficult.
So I've had 3 situations within 12 months. There was a storm that came through and it ripped half the roof off my house.
Wow.
And I don't know what that thing is, but this little round disc thing on the top of your roof.
I've always wondered what that's called. I know what you're talking about.
It was ripped off and the water was flooding into the house. Into the house through the windows.
Yep, so that you've got damage beyond just the roof itself. Yeah.
And so then it was a matter of, getting the insurance involved and, all of this sort of thing. And, we're going into winter and there's not much that can be done at the time except drying out the house and getting an approval to put the roof on. And the insurance only wanted to do half the roof because it ripped off half the roof. So December, another storm comes and a tree falls on the backside of the roof. Now I have deck damage, roof damage, holes in the roof, all of this sort of thing, and it can't be repaired until the weather clears the deck. And so, I'm talking to the contractor. Okay, so can we expand the deck? Can we make the deck, more, pleasant to look at or usable or whatever? And he said, well, you can do that. The insurance company's not going to cover that. But after you do that, your taxes are going to go up. And I says, oh, heck, I don't want my taxes to go up. So just fix the deck the way it is, just repair it. And because I don't want my taxes to go up. But if we had approved that fund, I wouldn't have had a problem because I could have applied for this fund, gone through the whole process so that I could have that done.
And for how many years would the taxes?
I believe it's 5 years.
5 years, okay.
Yeah.
Well, very good. Okay, so I guess this would be a good transition into affordable housing. I know here in West Hartford, just from the town council, there's never a hotter debate than when it comes to affordable housing, people's opinions on that. What constitutes affordable housing? For example, let's say you've got an apartment that normally sells for $2,500. Is it affordable housing if it's now $1,800 a month? What are your thoughts on affordable housing in general, and what can we do to, I guess, make it more available?
So when one of the big apartment buildings was being built in Bloomfield, I talked to the developer and I said, well, are you going to have a block of apartments that are going to be affordable apartments in this building? And he said no. Right now, many of the apartments in Bloomfield, and I'm just talking about apartments, are running between $3,200 and $4,000 a month.
Really? I believe I was paying $1,300 a month when I left there in 2011. I lived in Bloomfield from 05 to 11. Wow.
And then if it's an apartment that is has been around for a long time, there are other issues. So what I'd like to see is apartments that come into Bloomfield that have a number of apartments, a group of apartments that are affordable, so that folks who have small children or folks who are graduating from college and getting their first job can afford to live in Bloomfield. Bloomfield's a beautiful town. I love the grassy areas, the open space. I even enjoy watching the bears walk across my yard.
Oh, we get those in West Hartford as well, yes.
I had one in my garage.
Yes, we got a camera that was supposed to be for the, if people were rifling through the cars, but my wife and I now call it the nature cam, because really it just gets bears and foxes and coyotes, and it's always fun to wake up in the morning. I see her looking at the nature cam. So, yeah. All right. So let's see. Investing in neighborhood schools. I guess when it comes to investing in schools, we've got state level funding, you've got town level funding. Would you like to, you like it where it is now? Would you like to see an increase in state level funding?
Well, I'd like to see the increase in state level funding. However, I like local neighborhood schools. I have to full disclosure. I was the learning through internship coordinator at the Big Picture High School under the Big Picture Learning Organization, which was a Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation school.
Okay.
In Bloomfield. And the Big Picture High School was unique because you had 16 kids, the teachers, advisors had 16 kids, and those students were their students for the full 4 years.
So it was one teacher for each student for the entire 4 years?
One student, one teacher, 16 students for the full 4 years.
Okay. And how did that work?
There were challenges when a student didn't like the teacher. And so, when parents say to me, as I'm doing the interviews, well, what if my kid doesn't like the teacher? I said, well, what if you're working at a job and you don't like your boss?
Right. Got to learn sometime.
You have to learn.
That's absolutely what I teach my stepkids.
And that's another skill.
Yep.
They also had requirements. And the requirements for real world learning was you have to support your work. You can't just sit there and say, I got all A's in this and all A's in that, because through my interaction with other schools, I did learn that there are some teachers who, not everyone, who will give a student an A because the student's quiet. Doesn't cause any trouble.
Right.
And you get an A and you pass that. However, do you know quantitative reasoning? Do you know, geometry? Do you know that? And so they have to
Right.
put all of their work together and defend their work in front of a group of people, mentors, folks from the state of Connecticut Department of Education, parents, and peers. And so now we're their community, and they have to show us what they know.
There's some accountability.
And
Good.
we can ask, and we have input in whether or not this student is ready and knows what they think they know. So I say that because programs like that in local neighborhood schools, right? Local neighborhood schools where kids walk to school, and you're in your neighborhood, but now you have to learn a different way. I think you can win with that. One of the other programs requirements for that school was juniors and seniors had to complete 2 3-credit college courses in order to graduate.
Juniors and seniors had to complete college courses to graduate. Wow.
At a community college, and the cost was free. They have to actually take a placement test, but as part of the requirement to graduate, you start as a junior and you take your courses.
And the courses are offered at the school, or you go physically to the community college?
The community college.
Okay. I mean, that's a good way to push you head first in the real world.
Right.
I like that, yeah.
And we had some students who got it
Yeah.
and said, oh, wait a minute. I'm a junior. I can go and take these courses in the summer. I can take them after school, right? And so some of the students had enough college credit to almost have an associate's degree before they graduated from high school.
Wow.
So when I say I support neighborhood schools, but we got to get the programs into the neighborhood schools. And I think that the funding from the state to improve the schools, to improve the programs that are in the schools, to see how some students, and this is not for all students, but to see how some students really catch on and learn how the real world works,
Right.
And it can be done in neighborhoods. And I believe that if you invest in neighborhood schools, it improves the community's commitment to the school, to the neighborhood, because folks really don't want to see their neighborhood go down. But if you have a wonderful school there, I see people in the neighborhood taking a bigger interest in investing in their schools. So I look at the picture differently. I know you've probably heard someone say, oh, the glass is always half empty, or that glass is half full. I know you've heard people say that. And my response to that is, well, at least I have a glass. And if I have a glass, I can put in that glass whatever I want. I can fill it up or dump it out, but I have control over my glass.
Yeah.
And that's what students should do in education. They should have commitment and control over their education. And I know we can do that in neighborhood schools.
And you said this was funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and this was capped at 16 per class?
Yes.
So one of the things that I've seen in local politics here in West Hartford is that while a town is growing and everybody's happy that a town is growing, there's also the contingency of people that are unhappy because sometimes that can force the classroom sizes to be higher. I don't know what the classroom sizes are in Bloomfield, but would you say 16 is a pretty good number to cap it off at? Because I'm trying to remember back when I was a kid, it was at least 20, 25, and I think that's probably too high.
I don't know what the classroom sizes are now. But just imagine you're the educator and you have 16 students, but they're your students for 4 years.
Yeah.
And so even in the summer, they have your cell phone number. Parents are calling, hey, what about this project? Because they have projects to do over the summer, during the summer. What about this project? And we have a question about this, that, or the other. Well, you have these 16 kids and you know what their strengths were when they came into your class. You know how to get them to a level where they would be successful, not just to get into college, but to graduate from college. And all of that falls back on you. Just imagine how you feel when your 16 students circle back and say, you know, I got into this because of you. I did this because you said this, that, or the other. I developed a business environments course for our students, and I was the person that thought a little differently. I did not like ahs and ums, ahs and ums, ahs and ums. And one of the assignments was for the students is listen to Bill Clinton speak. I want you to listen. He's going to be speaking on a particular subject tonight, and I want you to come back and tell me how many ahs and ums he said when he spoke.
Probably none. Yeah.
No, that's not true. It was a lot.
Oh, it was?
It was a lot.
I didn't think of him as a on. Those are called fillers, right?
Yes.
I really, I've been doing, not this show, but another show. I've really tried to, when I watch myself on that, not, and, and this, so I think is that a good thing or a bad thing to cut out the ahs and ums?
If you are going to speak publicly and you feel an ah or an ah and come on, pause.
Pause.
Just pause.
Okay.
So what I saw was students then checking each other and saying, oh, wait a minute, you had this many ahs and this many ums. Jam's going to get you. I'm Jam. Jam's going to get you. So I walk around with a wine container, no wine, but the container where 2 bottles of wine would fit in there.
Hey, at least you have the container.
And that was my quarter box.
Okay.
And so when a student is talking to me, I'm standing there and I'm counting their ahs and ums. I'm listening to them, but I'm counting their ahs and ums. This is learning, real world learning. Afterwards, I'll tell them, I'll answer their question and I'll tell them how many ahs and ums they have. And you have to put a quarter in my box for every ah and that you did.
What about like? Does that
Oh,
count
that's
too?
terrible, yes.
That's 2 quarters.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
So what we did, everyone doesn't have quarters, right?
Right.
Especially students.
Ooh.
So we do push-ups. And I do the push-ups with them.
It'd be tough this time of year, I can tell you. It's hot out.
And I'll do the push-ups with them. But
Pretty hardcore.
when I walk down the hallway, you know how in the back room of a traditional school, kids are doing stuff that they shouldn't be doing, and you got to, hey, get to your class or get to this. I'm walking down the hallway, and students are practicing their speeches. They're listening to how many ahs and ums they said in their speeches. And so when I say that education can be changed on a state level, and you just change the program, invest in the schools. And investment isn't necessarily always financial, but you can bring new programs in, change people's way of thinking when it comes to education, and push these kids to where they can be. And if you know them when they're in their first year of high school and you're still their advisor when they're seniors, you know what those students can do. So I believe in investing in schools, and I believe investing in neighborhood schools. So did I answer your question?
You did. I think people really think of when you're talking about investing in schools, it's just a number on a piece of paper, and here you go, this goes to this school, this goes to this school. But what you just described is thinking outside of the box.
Yes.
And the results that you've seen firsthand means that it actually works. So that's investing. You're not just investing capital, you're investing your time and your energy and your thoughts. Programs, right? Okay. Very good. Okay, so a bill supporting spouses of fallen state troopers and DOT workers, enabling them to receive their spouse's pension regardless of the number of years of service. Mm-hmm. All right.
All right. So most people know that I am the spouse of a Connecticut state trooper, retired. And we met when we were 13 years old. So I did not marry a trooper. I married my best friend.
Okay.
We've been married for about 42 years now. Well, years ago, when our kids were little, I was at West Farms Mall with the kids, and I don't remember the year, but I remember the situation because it was the Saturday before Father's Day. I heard my name announced over the PA system at the mall. And what are you talking about? My name? And they told me to report to security. So I go to security, and there were troopers there. Ma'am, we're going to take you home. We're going to follow you. And they wouldn't tell me why. I get to the house and there are cruisers all in the parking lot, the driveway and all on the grass. Some of them stayed with the kids. Some of them took me to the hospital. My husband was hit on the highway.
Oh, no.
He was hit where he was trying to get out of the way, but he was giving a ticket. He was on the side where the Jersey barrier is, and his cruiser, the car that he stopped, and a third vehicle was coming, speeding, out of control. He was trying to get out of the way, but he was crushed. My husband was crushed. He was trying to pull his leg up out of the way. The muscle was ripped off the bone, and he was hanging, and had he tried to jump over the barriers, nothing but like concrete down there. And they told me that if he didn't have the vest on, he would have been completely crushed.
Wow.
So our situation, he pulled through with a lot of physical therapy, a lot of support. The troopers that came to our house were so good. Some of them stayed with the kids. They wouldn't tell me what happened until we got to the hospital. And when I think about Trooper Pelletier, Trooper First Class Pelletier,
Yep.
he worked for 11 years as a Connecticut State Trooper, or for the state of Connecticut. And I think that his life means something. It was of value. And I believe that the state of Connecticut should have some sort of policy, some sort of bill that is passed where the spouses of a fallen state trooper or a fallen DOT worker is enabled to get that pension regardless of the number of years because they gave their life.
Of course, yeah.
And so that, I am so passionate about that. I feel so bad for Dominique Pelletier. She has to go the rest of her life without the person that she loved more than anything. And to add insult to injury, he was working for the family, and now he's gone. What does she do? If she had that pension, she would be able to at least pull some things together. Mm-hmm. Not long after that, a DOT worker lost his life working on the highway. So what does the state do to accommodate these workers who have given the ultimate sacrifice? Mm-hmm. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And I'd like to see, I know that there was some mention about a bill or an act or something, but it hasn't gone anywhere. But I'd like to be a part of that.
Sure.
To close that hole, that loophole, so that those families are entitled to
Okay,
receive
well, this has been
benefits.
a great interview. That is all the time that we have for today. This has been On the Political Page. I'm Rocky Holland with my guest, endorsed candidate for the 15th State House of Representatives, Jennifer Marshall Nealy. Mm-hmm. All right, thanks for watching.